Hello everyone, welcome to this video where Sarah and I will be discussing the Goodreads Choice Awards of 2021.
Thanks for having me on, Diana. I'm very excited to record this video with you, and I'm looking forward to looking through all the categories, even if there's some where neither of us have read any of the books.
Yes. So we are going to start by talking about these awards in general, what they represent, as well as the pros and cons. Then we're going to go through each category, discussing the nominees, and we're going to give you our personal opinions. We're going to tell you our choices, as well as some of our predictions. Well, I have a complicated relationship with these awards because I usually disagree with most of the winners, but I always look forward to these awards and participate and vote for my favorite books. I think it's a lot of fun for the users to interact and feel we have an impact on the results, because after all, we are the constant judges, we are the reviewers, so seeing that we can express our opinions through this voting process to select the books we love is satisfying. I also always find new titles here, because I usually get most of recommendations from BookTube, but there is a whole world of readers outside BookTube, and I always add new books to my TBR after seeing these lists. People consider these awards a popularity contest instead of the best books of the year, and I agree that it is a popularity contest to some extent, but because there is no other way. In order to be a fair contest, everyone would have to read all the nominees and select whichever they think is best, which is impossible. So it's logical that books from very popular authors are always there, because the bigger the fandom, the more reviews they're going to get. And I looked into the five past Choice Awards since 2016, and every single year Sarah J. Maas's books have either won in the fantasy or YA category, and the same with Stephen King's books. They either have won in the thriller or horror category, because they are very popular authors with a huge fandom. And I think the unfairness comes when fans of popular authors vote for their books without having read them yet. I understand the impulse of voting for a favorite author's book, or because a friend told you it was a good book, but it is not fair for the rest of the authors that might have written a better book.
Yes, so I think we had a little bit of a chat about this before we recorded the video, and I think we were both chatting about kind of the pros and cons of a list like this, or an awards ceremony like this. So it's nice that we get to see, or we get the opportunity as readers to give a little bit of our own opinion, but then that also comes with some of the drawbacks of, I think you had mentioned, Diana, that this seems a little bit sometimes like a popularity contest, or at least there's some aspects where if you are a more popular author, where you have a bigger platform, you have more opportunities for your constant readers to come in and vote for your stories.
It is a lot of fun for us.
I like the fact, too, that they do it in rounds, so you get to vote and re-vote over and over again. It makes it feel like the stakes are higher somehow. Like, obviously, there are no stakes. This is just a random internet award, but it makes you feel excited when they start, like, thinning out the books and you get to vote again and again. So it's easy to get caught up in the excitement. When we get to certain categories, like maybe science fiction and fantasy, we'll be able to touch in on some of this year's controversies for the good year, for the Choice Awards. But I gotta say, if there's controversies in the best fiction category, I am not the right person to ask about.
Me neither.
I was just gonna say, maybe we'll spend a little bit of a shorter time on some of the categories where we haven't read a lot, and then put in most of our efforts where we tend to read a little bit more. But we can definitely get started. I am going to chat about the best fiction and who won. So I don't know what the trend is there, but I'm interested. Like, my gut reaction wants to say, like, okay, millions of people read Nicholas Sparks, he'll probably win. But then the part of me that spends time on BookTube, where people who love reading a lot, the kinds of books that they talk about, I'm like, okay, well, maybe one of these other books will kind of sneak in and take it. But I don't know. Do you have any thoughts? What do you think is going to happen?
I've heard about Once There Were Wolves, and it seems it's a very good book, although I thought it was a thriller, so I don't know for sure why it is here. But it has very good ratings on Goodreads, and of course, I've heard about Sally Rooney's book as well, and I believe, this is my prediction, that this is the one that is going to win, because I feel that she is a very popular author, but I haven't read any of her books because I always see they get mixed reviews, and that kind of intimidates me. But I feel that she is very popular, and I predict this is the book that is going to win.
And she had a TV show that came out, I don't know if it was earlier this year or late last year, so I think there's what do they call it in publishing? Cross-market appeal. She gets the commercial readers, but then also some of the literary readers as well. So maybe that means that there'll be a big following.
Yes. Okay, let's move to the other category. So we have mystery and thriller. In this one, your specialty. Yes, I've read 4 of the books listed here. I've heard very good things about The Push. I think it's about motherhood, but on the dark side of it. People say it is very good, but a little bit scary. I read The Wife Upstairs, and this is not memorable at all for me. I don't recommend it. Then I read The Maidens, and I think I have a different opinion to everyone else, because I enjoyed this one, but it's gotten so many bad reviews. But I really liked the atmosphere. It takes place at Cambridge University, and I think the author captured very well these dark academia vibes. I do agree that the twist at the end wasn't mind-blowing, but I overall enjoyed the book as a whole. We have Jane Harper here. I read one of her books, The Dry. Have you read that one? No? I haven't. I really liked that one. The plot here is going to be my pick. I think it has an amazing plot, no pun intended. It follows a frustrated writer who's teaching a writing class at a university, and then he has a student who is very arrogant, and he says he has a terrific plot in mind, that he's going to write the best book of the decade, and he ends up telling him the plot, and then he dies. And a few years later, our main protagonist write a book around this plot, and he starts receiving messages that saying that, I know this plot doesn't belong to you, that you're a fraud. And the story progresses from there, and I found it very interesting and engaging. I think it has good mystery, and the twist at the end was a lot darker than I thought it was going to be. Yes, we have a Paula Hawkins book here. I haven't read any of her books. Have you?
I did. I read The Girl on the Train for a book club, actually. So I don't read a lot of thrillers, but that one, I felt like everybody was reading that book when it first came out.
How was it?
It was good. I'm definitely not the best person to ask, because innately, by the way that they're written, thrillers don't always really appeal to me. I do like it when they have a good atmosphere. I feel like that's when I can get on board, because I do like that kind of creepy atmospheric writing. But when a lot of it is about the plot or the twists, I don't like it. I don't like feeling anxious, and I feel like these books make me really anxious. I'm like, oh, what's happening? And then I know you're supposed to just let the mystery happen, but then the part of my brain that wants to know things is like, well, why haven't I figured this out? What's wrong with me? It's just stressful.
I know what you mean. Yes, it causes me anxiety as well. Like, yes. I need to know so badly. So I've heard very good things about Razor Blade Tears. I believe it follows 2 fathers, a black father and a white one, and their sons are a couple, and they get murdered, and then these fathers go on a quest to get revenge. And I've heard it's very hard to read. There are some parts that are very sad, but it is very good. I read The Night She Disappeared. It was my first Lisa Jules book, and I really liked it. I was surprised by her writing. It was very engaging. The twist at the end didn't catch me by surprise, but I was very invested in the story because of the way she wrote it, and I will definitely look for more of her books. And of course, we have a Stephen King book.
I feel like if I'm going to guess who's going to win, that's probably going to be my guess. Although I haven't read Billy Summers. I think I heard someone on Discord mention that they didn't really feel like this was a mystery/thriller. I don't know if that's, maybe I even made that up. I don't remember. This is not top quality content.
It's fine.
He's Stephen King. He usually wins whenever he's nominated.
I feel the same. I think this one follows a serial killer who wants to retire or something, and he's on the run, and he's writing a book, something like that. I heard. I might be wrong, but yes, our prediction is Billy Summers for this category, right? Because he always wins. So next we have historical fiction.
There we go. Did you have any of these? Did you read any of these?
No. How about you?
I don't read a lot of historical fiction. The stuff that I do read is probably books that have crossover appeal with fantasy. So I read The Warlord Chronicles by Bernard Cornwell this year, which I loved, and will probably end up reading more of his books because I thought that they were phenomenal. But
Sold it to me.
But books that are more like medieval in scope, I feel like I would read. But I'm not a big fan of the really common different iterations on World War II. I feel like that is what historical fiction means to me. And I'm like...
Same. Every time I hear historical fiction, World War II.
Yes. And sometimes it feels like now, having read many of these books, because rightfully so, we have to read about this in school and it's important to learn about. And so I don't think anybody makes it through the school system without reading a book about this time period. But sometimes now I feel like people just use it as an easy way to play on your emotions, because you know that this is a really sad time and you know that really horrible things happened. And so it feels like to me, whenever I read a book that's set in World War II, often the author feels like they don't have to put a lot of work into making you invested in the characters, because they know they have this backdrop that works for them, because you have this expectation that something horrible is going to happen because you know that this was an atrocious time. And so I end up not particularly enjoying those books because I feel like they don't put in the character work that they need.
Same thing happens to me. So have you heard of any of these books? I've heard about Christine Hanna.
Yeah, I did read one of her books. I did read The Nightingale, which is one of the World War II books that I have read. I've heard of Jonathan Franzen. There were a couple. I know that Apothecary one has been everywhere on BookTube because it was one of the Book of the Month books. So I feel like everybody who has that Book of the Month subscription was reading that. And I think there was one more near the bottom too, Malibu Rising. I feel like that's going to be my choice for winner because people just love Taylor Jenkins Reid.
Yes.
I agree with this one as well. I read Daisy Jones and the Six and The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, and I loved those two books. I also read One True Loves, but that wasn't a favorite of mine. But yes, I agree that Malibu Rising might win here. Also, I want to read The Lincoln Highway. He's the same author of A Gentleman in Moscow, and I've been wanting to read that book for years, but I haven't had the opportunity. But yes, this one is on my TBR. So Malibu Rising for this one. Okay. Okay, fantasy.
Okay, I feel like before we discuss this list, which I assume we're going to do together because this is what we both read a lot of, can we talk about what's not on it first?
Definitely. This is the fun part.
So, where's Wisdom of Crowds? Where?
I know.
What is happening? How did they make these choices?
Oh, and also Empire of the Vampire that I was saying that it is very popular. It got sold out everywhere when the book went on pre-sale. It wasn't even out yet. And it has like 10 special editions and it's not here either. So a lot of people are angry in this category because a lot of books are missing here.
Yeah, I was blown away. Because like you said, Empire of the Vampire, whether you like it or not, whether you enjoy Jay Kristoff's writing or not, it had, like you said, like 10 special editions. It was a sensation when it came out. And it's
a lot of reviews and high rating. Yeah, I was really surprised it wasn't here. What else do you think was missing from this list?
Well, the Wisdom of Crowds for sure. That's the end of the First Law universe for now. Anything can happen in the future, but you would think, I know Joe Abercrombie doesn't have that same kind of crossover. I think J. Kristoff probably gets a lot of YA readers and adult fantasy readers, so I think he has a huge kind of explosive fan base. But it's not like Joe Abercrombie is some small, unknown author.
Yes, I know what you mean. So, yes.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know what else I would have put on here. That, like, there were a couple of new releases that I read this year, but they weren't incredibly popular, so it's not that I was expecting to find them here. It's just I felt really prepared for this category when the Goodreads Choice Awards popped up, and I was like, I had read enough new releases to do a whole video on it. And then I came here and I was like, where are all of these?
I know.
But I have read a couple of these ones. Which ones have you read from the
I only read, I was surprised too, because from this list I only read The Shadow of the Gods. Mm-hmm. I know you read that one as well.
I did, yeah, and I loved it. And I think probably whatever had made the list, Shadow of the Gods was probably going to get my vote regardless. But I felt more underread than I wanted to when I looked at the list. I have also read Sorrowland by River Solomon, which I think is in the, there we go, the blue one, which has a beautiful cover. And I really, really loved that book. And it's funny because I gave that book 5 stars, and I think I gave Shadow of the Gods 4 stars, but I still voted for Shadow of the Gods because I don't know, I and maybe this is where you start to see your own internal bias, but I trust that John Gwynne is going to make this series into something that I am going to love. And I feel like just based on how much I enjoy him and enjoy his writing, I had to vote for that one. But I'm kind of showing my own hypocrisy.
No, you read them. At least you read them both. You didn't vote for a book that you didn't read. So it's fair.
I wanted to read, like I have wanted to read She Who Became the Sun. I was so excited to read this book, but then it got some mixed reviews, and then I was nervous and it made me put it off, so I still haven't read it. I don't know if I'll read it before the end of the year, but I'm kind of scared to read it now.
Me too. Let's see what's the... Oh, it's about 4. It's not that bad. Yeah, from here I've heard good things about the Jasmine Throne. The Wolf and the Woodsman, I've heard, is a little bit dark, that it has creepy forest vibes, which I like. I've heard good things about The Unbroken as well. Oh, actually, some mixed reviews as well. I think this is military fantasy, which is not something that everyone likes. And we have a Sarah J. Maas book here as well.
Do we even need to guess who's going to win?
The winner!
So I'm kind of a mixed bag when it comes to Sarah J. Maas. I really like the Throne of Glass series, and I have read all of those books, but I actually DNF'd the first Fae book. I forget what it's called. I just know it's called, the acronym is ACOTAR. There we go, Thrones and Roses. But my sister has read all of Sarah J. Maas's books, and I don't think she really liked A Court of Silver Flames that much. So I don't know if that is a common opinion amongst the Sarah J. Maas fandom. But
doesn't matter, it has very high rating.
It's gonna win. Who are we kidding? But I will be there to cast my vote for Shadow of the Gods to try to propel John Gwynne through the awards.
Me too. Of the Gods is my pick here. But yeah, I feel the same. I read Sarah J. Maas's books. I haven't read Throne of Glass. I started with her books with Court of Thorns and Roses. And it is like my guilty pleasure. But yes, I haven't read these ones.
Didn't her new series start this year too? Her Crescent City? Didn't the first book of that series come out?
That was last year. Crescent City was last year, and then next year is going to be the sequel to that one. Are you going to read that one?
I am actually. I've been convinced by the people in Discord to read it. So we're going to read it together, I think. We're going to read the first one in January and the second one in February when it comes out.
Really? Are you going to do a read-along?
I think so, yeah.
Oh, I'm going to participate because I'm planning on reading the sequel in February. I already read Crescent City. And it was... I had a lot of fun. It is my guilty pleasure read.
There we go. No need to feel guilty.
No, not at all. Okay, let's go into romance. I think you've read a lot from here, right?
I have. So this one I have read. Definitely, this is funnily enough, I've read more of these than I have of the fantasy books, even though I have read probably 4 times as much fantasy as romance or more this year, but that's just the way it goes. I think because I read a lot of recent releases for romance, but with fantasy there's a lot of backlisted books that you want to get to. So the books that I have read on this list are Act Your Age, Eve Brown. So that was the end of a companion trilogy. The Heart Principle, which was also the end of a companion trilogy. And if we can scroll down, I can find the other ones. Keep going. I've read The Charm Offensive and The Love Hypothesis. So The Love Hypothesis is the one I gave my vote to, and this one has caused like a sensation on, I think, like Book Talk, Bookstagram, and then not as much on at least the booktube that I follow, because I mostly follow fantasy booktube accounts, but maybe if there are romance booktubers out there, they probably have been talking about it a lot as well. But funnily enough, The Love Hypothesis, which I voted for, started off as a Kylo Ren and Rey fanfiction, and the main character's name is Adam, which I found hilarious. I'm not sure if it started off as a Kylo Ren and Rey fanfiction, I would have kept the main character's name as Adam. And the character looks like Adam Driver and is described in a very similar way. So that was a little bit of a strange experience, but the book is really cute. And I think what made it appeal to so many people is that it was about women in STEM. So I think that would be a great booktube conversation. So if you're going to read a romance book, you should read The Love Hypothesis, and then we can have a women in STEM conversation about The Love Hypothesis.
Yeah. This one is another one that you sold to me. Like, I'm reading this one for sure.
It's just really fun because I think it's a cute romance. So if you are in the mood for something fluffy and you just want to be able to kind of turn your brain off from all of the really heavy fantasy books that you read a lot, then I think that it makes for a good palate cleanser in that way. But it's nice because it discusses a lot of the challenges and a lot of the difficulties of being a woman in this particular field. And so a lot of the time in romance, you get the same tropes. So you get a lot of miscommunication. Everybody knows that you're getting that kind of final act where there's some big event and it pulls the protagonists apart, and then they have to try to find a way to solve that. But in this book, I think that Ali Hazelwood did a great job of integrating that into the setting, and they were real challenges that I think women in that these fields of study face a lot. And so it felt very realistic, and it didn't feel like drama that had just been contrived for the sake of the plot, which is I think what has made it appeal to a lot of people. I would really like for it to win, but there's some huge romance names on this list, like Christina Lauren. They are a duo who are immensely popular. Emily Henry, who wrote People We Meet on Vacation, her last book, Beach Read, was really popular. And it was really good, actually. The writing was excellent, and the story was really good. I have seen that Tessa Bailey book, It Happened One Summer, everywhere, so I imagine that's pretty popular. And I think that One Last Stop by Casey McQuiston is also very popular. She wrote Red, White, and Royal Blue, which was really popular when it came out a couple of years ago. So I think there's just a lot of contenders. I would like the little debut of The Love Hypothesis to rise to the top. And I feel like I have an extra layer of investment because I don't know if you know this, Diana, but I used to write a lot of fan fiction.
Really? Oh my goodness, that is so cool!
A fan fiction author come up and grab the title, other than the person who wrote 50 Shades of Grey, which I feel like made there's a little bit of a face turn there. For someone to come up and write a book and for it to win would be awesome. Because I think there's a lot of talented people writing fan fiction, and it's a really fun community to be a part of because you get instantaneous feedback on your writing. So you get that positive or negative or critical feedback right away, and you can kind of adjust as you're going. So I think it gets dismissed a lot because a lot of it is kind of fandom related, and a lot of it is these big shipping wars that happen between people online. But if you are interested in writing and you want to have some feedback instantaneously, fanfiction is actually a great place to get it.
Awesome. I think that is awesome. No, I haven't read anything from here, but I will be reading The Love Hypothesis for sure, and I hope it wins. I've heard about Neon Gods, which is a retelling of Hades and Persephone.
Can root for our underdog. It's okay.
Okay, next category, science fiction.
I feel like you've read a couple of these. I don't think I've read any of these ones.
I think you read one.
Oh, yes, I did. Winter's Orbit.
Yes, that one. So, Charts of Earth. I wanted to read it this year because the premise sounds so good. I think Adrian Tchaikovsky is a very popular and very prolific science fiction author. And this book sounds amazing. This is Earth exploding right here. So, wow. To begin with, that is interesting. From here, I read Pratt Hail Mary, and this is my pick for this category because I think it's the perfect science fiction book. It is flawless. It was so good from beginning to end. There are so many twists. The ending was pure perfection, and I really hope it wins. The author threw a lot of science on the story as well, which was a huge plus for me because I love science. And I love this book so much. I really hope it wins. I'm very passionate about it.
But Andy Weir's popular. I feel like everybody really likes The Martian. So I think this is probably your best chance of all the ones we've talked about so far. It seems like your best chance to get your favorite through.
I hope so. I could be so happy. We have also a Neve Corafor book here. I wanted to read it as well. It's very short. It's the same length as the Binti books. And this one, the premise of this one sounded very good as well. I think it follows the adopted daughter of the Angel of Death. We have also a Star Wars book here. I haven't read any Star Wars. Have you?
I haven't. I'm about to start the Thrawn trilogy, and I don't know what. So I live with a very large source of bias. So my husband is a huge Star Wars fan and is absolutely furious at Disney for like the Star Wars direction. So I never hear any positive things about these new Star Wars books, which is probably, not the best position to take, but he's very passionate about his Star Wars opinions. So I don't ever hear anything good about the new Star Wars universe. So I don't know if these are good, not good. We need some unbiased sources of information outside of my poor husband. So I don't know. I mean, Star Wars is really popular, so I would imagine that a lot of people like this, but I just am so tainted by his ire that I can't look at it objectively.
I know what you mean. Also, is he mad at the movies or at the TV shows like The Mandalorian?
He actually liked The Mandalorian, and I think he would be happy enough if Star Wars took a non-Jedi approach. I think he would be happy to watch any non-Jedi related content, like The Mandalorian. But the movies, I think he was very excited, not very excited, tentatively optimistic when they were announced. And I think that he was happy that there was going to be a female protagonist because I think he had thought this was going to be an opportunity for him to bring our daughter into Star Wars and be like, look, this is about a female Jedi. But as soon as Disney announced that they were scrapping the EU and coming up with their own continuity and I feel like people even made maybe assertions that there wasn't a lot of material to work with, and I just remember his face being like,
From this list, I read Clara and the Sun, and this book didn't work for me at all. I think I gave it 2 stars.
I think you were one of the deciding factors in not reading, because I really love some of his other books, but I have heard from you and I think from some other people as well that this one just didn't live up.
It was my first Kazuo Ishiguro book.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so I was really disappointed, but I will try another of his books just to be sure, just to test if he's an author for me or not. I think you read Winter's Orbit.
I did. That one is, to me, it's more of a romance than a science fiction. It's definitely a blending of the two, but the romance elements, I think, work a lot better than the sci-fi elements. I think I gave that book 3 stars, maybe. I did enjoy the character dynamics and I enjoyed the development of the characters, but the sci-fi stuff I felt like was really peripheral and I didn't enjoy it as much. So it would definitely not be my selection for sci-fi.
We have a Martha Wells novel here, which she's been very popular lately because of this series. And also we have a Becky Chambers book. She's also a famous, popular author in the science fiction community. So which one would you pick?
I still think I think I would still pick Project Hail Mary. I feel like I've seen it everywhere. People really like it.
Yes. Let's see. I hope it wins.
That would be exciting.
Either that or Charts of Earth.
I did really enjoy Children of Time, which I just read this month. So I am looking forward to reading more of Tchaikovsky's books.
Me too. I haven't read any of his books, and I own 4. It happens. In the horror category, I think you've read more than I.
I've only read one. I read later.
Oh, same. Same. I know you wanted to read All's Well, but you wanted to read a Shakespeare play before.
Yes, I do have it, and my cover is different than that. So when I first looked at it, I was like, is that the same book that I have? But it is. But I did want to read the play first because I haven't read the play, and I felt like I wanted to have that background.
That's the right thing to do. I am the same. I have that OCD that I need to follow the right order. Yes.
I have heard a lot about My Heart is a Chainsaw. It seems like a lot of people are really into Stephen Graham Jones right now.
Yes, that's true. His other book, The Good Indian, had very good reviews last year. So yes, this could be a potential winner. Oh no, Stephen King is here. Take that back.
This is one of his hard crime books. I don't even know. Like there's a few moments where I felt scared, and there's a supernatural element, but I don't know if it's classically horror in the way that many of his books are.
I felt the same. Like it has horror elements in it, but I don't consider it a horror book because I'm a chicken. That didn't scare me. So yes. Yeah, but it was a really fun read. It made the perfect palate cleanser for me. Yes. So you would pick that one?
Yes.
Okay.
I would just like to say some of these covers are very disturbing. Like the cover artists do a good job of telling you this is a horror book. You should stay away.
Yes. Heard about Near the Bone. This one I'm never going to read. This one. It's about a couple that go to this cabin, and then there is a blizzard, and they are like stuck inside this cabin, but they start hearing sounds like someone is out there. That would ruin all the cabins in the world for me. I can't read that one.
No, we want to be able to take cabin vacations in the future.
Yeah, exactly. No, I could think about this book, yes. And I've also heard very, very good things about the Last House on Needle Street. This one, I've also seen it on BookTube. A Diary of Blood, I think, is about Dracula's brides. Yeah, but I think it has...
That sounds interesting.
Yeah, I think there is romance, but it's a little bit dark.
I'd probably read that.
Yeah, me too. I want to read A Story of Desire, Obsession, and Emancipation. Sounds good.
That'll be our Halloween read next year.
Yes! And I've seen that it's short, so it's perfect. So let's read that one. So your pick is Later. My prediction is that Later is going to win.
Yeah.
Because Stephen King is very popular. Okay, in humor, we are fried. Let's skip this one because I don't think we have anything to add here.
No, I have zero to add.
Yes. Non-fiction, you haven't read any of these? Me neither, right?
I have heard of some of them. I try to read at least one work of nonfiction a month, but that's not a lot. And it's hard to know, but there's a couple of really popular people. Like John Green has a huge following, just an internet following. So I feel like that will probably win just because of his immense popularity. I do end up liking his work. And I think someone told me, because I had put this on one of my monthly TBRs, someone told me it was his podcast. So it was all of the episodes of one of his podcasts taken and put in book form, and that it was enjoyable. Nice. So I am hoping to read that one. And I think if you go back up to the top, there was one that I have heard about, Cultish. That one sounds really cool. It's about how people get roped into joining cults and the kinds of language and the kinds of enticements that people send out to try to get you to be a part of their group. So that was one that I actually have on my distant TBR, one of the possibilities for the future. But when I heard someone talk about it, I thought that sounded really interesting. And especially I feel like if you're going to write books, if you're interested in writing book, like that type of nonfiction seems very helpful in crafting a believable antagonist.
Yeah, that sounds like a great choice. I haven't read any of these. I've read a nonfiction each month, but I haven't read any of these.
The comfort book. That could also win. I feel like he has a really big following.
Oh yes. Oh, I didn't see that one. Yes,
John Green is still super popular, so I think that's still probably my prediction, but we'll see.
Memoirs and autobiography.
I think there's one on here. Is the Crying in H Mart, is that on this list? Yes, there we go. I have heard so much about that book. It has been on like every best of list. I feel like it is everywhere, so I don't even recognize a lot of these books. Obviously, I know some of these people. Like, I know who Hunter Biden is. I know who Stanley Tucci is. But I haven't heard a lot about the books. But Crying in H Mart, I've heard all year long. So that's going to be my prediction without having any knowledge.
Yes, me too. I think it follows a Korean American girl who loses her mom and she goes through hell. That might win too.
I do want to read it. I don't read a lot of autobiographies unless it's someone I'm really, really interested in. But because of all of the buzz that one's been getting, I feel like I need to. I can only hear about a book so many times and hear that everybody else has read it and not want to read it myself.
You're very curious. Like, you can't help it. I need to know what everyone is talking about. Yeah, the same thing happens to me. In history and biography,
none of these ones for me this year.
Oh, this one. I'm very interested in this one because it's about genomics and I love genomics. So I'm very interested in reading this one. It's about gene editing and the like. Yeah, that's the only book.
Malcolm Gladwell is really popular, so that would be my guess for who is going to win this category, but I haven't read any of them.
I mean, neither. Let's move to graphic novels and comics. I haven't read any of these, but I've heard about some, like Dune. I thought this was an all graphic novel, and I just realized it actually says that it was published in 2020, so I'm not sure why it's on this list, but I thought it was an old one. Oh, we have The Dark One by Brandon Sanderson.
Oh, there we go.
Yes. Also from here we have B. Schwab, Extraordinary. Yes.
I know Avatar is really popular.
Yes, Avatar is really popular as well. And Lore Olympus has gained a lot of praise lately. It's another Hades and Persephone's retelling, but in a modern era, like they're in this disco and Zeus is the owner or something like that.
It's a beautiful cover.
Yes, and the art is very cute. I've seen it.
Maybe I'll just read it myself then. I do like Greek retellings. I don't read as many graphic novels, but I did. It was one of my goals this year to read more, so maybe I'll pick that one.
Yeah, everyone seems to love it. I think it's cute, but there are also some hard scenes there, so I'm not sure. I'd like to read it as well. But yes, I think Avatar might win, or Lord Olympus, one of the two.
Or maybe Brandon Sanderson.
Yes. Yeah, Brandon Sanderson is a very popular author, very well loved. Mm-hmm. Poetry, we should skip that one, right?
I think, yeah.
Debut novel, yeah. From here, I'm not sure.
I'm not sure either.
Yeah.
It's so hard to know because I don't know which of these genres has the biggest following either. Like, do more people read romance than, like, I know more people read lots of things than fantasy, but I don't know.
Young adult fiction.
This is contemporary, right? I have not read any of these. I have read books by some of them. So I have read other books by Nicola Yoon, the woman who wrote Instructions for Dancing, and I really liked her other books, and I think they were fairly popular. I've heard a lot about Tokyo Ever After. I feel like maybe that one was a Book of the Month pick as well. I'm not sure, but that one seemed to show up a lot. And I read the first Aristotle and Dante book a long time ago when it came out. And then this new book, this continuation of their story, came out this year. I haven't read it, but I did order it actually because I really liked the first one. So I don't know how people have been receiving that, if it's as good as the first or not. It's always a gamble when people continue on with well-loved stories.
Yes, I know. From here, it's the third one in A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. I own the 3 books because they have mixed media inside, like autopsy reports and sketches of criminals and interviews, and I love that. I own the 3 books, but I haven't read one. This is the 4th one in the Truly Devious. I think this follow our main protagonist from the Truly Devious original trilogy as an adult, but I didn't like that trilogy either because, once again, I felt it was for younger people. The Cousins is like a spin-off from the One of Us is Lying trilogy.
Oh, I know. I can picture that cover because people talk about it a lot, but I haven't read it.
Yeah. I haven't read that trilogy either. I own this one though, but I'd like to read that trilogy first before I jump into this one. And I've heard good things about Yolk. Concrete Rose is the prequel to The Hate You Give, which was really popular. So I think this one would be my pick. Yes.
That makes sense. I think her other books won when they came out.
Yes, it seems that it was very impactful and it touches very, very important subjects like racism. Best young adult fantasy and science fiction. You've read some from here.
I read one of these, have I? No, I haven't.
No? Are you sure, Sarah?
I'm sure.
Me neither.
No, I'm not.
We are a disgrace.
Why do we do this video again? Just so we could complain about Wisdom of Crowds not being on the page.
Yes.
I have heard of a lot of these authors, and I have read other books by a lot of them. So, Cassandra Clare, hugely popular. Mm-hmm. I have heard really good things about The Ones We're Meant to Find. When that book came out earlier this year, I feel like a lot of people were talking about it.
Yes.
Lost in the Neverwoods, I read that author. So that author is Aidan Thomas, I believe. I read his book last year, Cemetery Boys, which I liked. It was like a fun YA story to read around Halloween.
Is this one a retelling of Peter Pan?
Yes, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it is. Holly Black, I know those books are really popular. The Cruel Prince books. Oh, I have read one. Oh, I lied.
I knew it. We're not a disgrace.
Anyway, the Wind Blows, the end of the Simon Snow trilogy by Rainbow Rowell. I really like Rainbow Rowell. I know that she is pretty hit or miss on BookTube, but I think that she writes really snappy dialogue. And so when I'm looking for something that feels like fun and breezy, I like to read her books because I find them very easy to get through. So that series is pretty popular as well, but I have a hard time believing that anything will beat out Cassandra Clare. I feel like she's got a horde. Like it literally, like they descend and
Yes. Yeah, definitely. That would be my pick too. Like she's gonna win. And the last one is middle grade and children's. I've seen this cover everywhere and it's so pretty. I feel that middle grade books get the prettiest covers.
I don't think I've read any of these. The only new release middle grade book that I've read this year is called Cece Rios and the Desert of Souls, and it's because my daughter got it in her Owl Crate Junior subscription and we read it together and it was really good. I'm sad that it's not on the list. I was hoping that it was going to be here so I could vote for it, but we read a lot of like backlisted middle grade stuff, and I like classic middle grade because before things were heavily marketed, I feel like middle grade was much more about the whimsy and much less about the age of the characters. But now there are books that are crafted specifically for children, which is great. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. It's just a different thing. So I don't think that new middle grade necessarily has the same appeal as classic middle grade for me as an adult.
Yeah. No, I hardly ever read any of the middle grades that are popular on BookTube. Like you, I usually go to the classics. Right now I'm reading The Wonderful Wizard of Oz. I've seen the adaptations, but I've never read the book. So I'd like to go back in time and read the classics first and then jump into some popular middle grade. Like, for example, I own A Pinch of Magic. It is like a trilogy. It sounds so cute, but yeah. As we reached the end of the categories, I hope some of these of our choices win. We're rooting for them.
And what the timeline is like, Diana, I don't really remember. Like, do they usually give it a week or 2 weeks before you go up to the next level?
I didn't check when we're going to get the results.
Me neither.
No. It says it ends in 6 days.
There we go. Final round. So it looks like there's going to be 2 rounds. So we get to vote one more time.
Oh, I see. Okay, cool. Oh,
That's exciting.
This was a lot of fun.
Thank you. I'm glad that we recorded it together.
Yes, me too.
If nothing else, hopefully it'll be entertaining, considering there's full categories where we haven't.
Yes. And we'll talk if some of these win. Like, we're going to do a little party. Yes. I really hope for Pride, Hail Mary and The Shadow of the Gods to win. Yes. Those are my top books. I really hope they both win.
Me too, and I'm going to throw The Love Hypothesis in there. I want that one.
That's true. Yes. I'm rooting for that one too. So thank you so much for agreeing to do this. I had a very good time.
Thank you everybody who made it to the end of this video where we talked about our predictions. We would love to hear from you, which ones you hope are going to win, which ones you haven't got around to reading yet, and which ones you think should have made the list. That's what we're really interested in. We want the scandal of the Goodreads.